Hello, I'm Dr. Frances here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the trans community, the law of gender, and the elemental balance in your chart. So I was married to a trans man for 10 years, and using the law of correspondence that says as within, so without, I use every opportunity to really see what the universe is mirroring back at me. And one of the big things I learned about that relationship, and as the trans community grows, is that the trans community is here to teach us how to balance our energies. So in the universal laws, there is a law called the law of gender. Everything has masculine and feminine energies. This has nothing to do with sexuality. This has nothing to do with anything in the body. This is an energetic concept. And so the way that we can balance our lives, our minds, is through using the law of gender. So the law of gender and the law of correspondence go together. The law of correspondence says, as within, so without. So using, for instance, my marriage to mirror that I needed to balance my gender energies internally. And the second part of the law says, as above, so below. There are 7 planes to the universe, and each plane, higher and higher, has a higher vibration, is less dense. The earthly plane is the most dense of all of the planes. The law indicates that everything happening in the lower planes of the universe, for instance, the earth or the astral plane, is a direct relationship or a mirror to the higher planes of the universe. So using this law and the law of gender, it's being indicated that what we need to learn in this day and age is to balance our own energies. So we are born with something called a manas prakriti. This is a term from the Vedas, and it's about the mental energies. At the moment of conception, we are given our manas prakriti. And at birth, when we have our birth chart, we can identify the exact elemental balance, which is our manas prakriti, that also indicates the balance for our particular balance of our masculine and feminine energies. So first, let's talk about the 2 polarities. The masculine polarity is found in anything that is a fire sign or an air sign. This is often indicated with a triangle that is pointed upwards. The feminine polarity has to do with anything in your chart that is an earth sign or a water sign. And this is indicated with the triangle pointing down. If you're familiar with the chakras, you'll see that the chakra symbols have triangles, but it is only the 4th chakra that has the triangle upward and the triangle downward. And that is the balance of the energies, the balance of the elements and the polarities that create balance in our heart space, love, compassion, empathy, and loving our neighbor, so to speak. So it's one of the gifts of astrology and mythology is really understanding all of these symbols and what they represent. So that does not mean that anybody necessarily has a balance of earth, water, or fire and air. Your balance is specific to you, to your manas prakriti, which makes you healthy mentally and emotionally. So let's start with calculating the elements in your chart. You're only going to use 10 planets. For the calculation of the energies, we do not use Chiron, the black moon, the earth, or the wheel of fortune. So the 10 that we're going to use is Pluto, Uranus, Sun, Neptune, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, and the moon. We also do not use the nodes. Now you're going to learn in different models, different people do it different ways, but these 10 are the ones that we're going to use to calculate. In some models, you might hear that the sun gets 2 points, the ascendant gets a point, but in my model, we only use these 10 primary planets. So what you're going to do is you're going to count up how much earth. In this particular person's case, they have 3 earth. So they have Virgo, Virgo, and Capricorn and Venus. So that's 3 earth. And then you're going to count the water so that you know the feminine polarity. And they also have 4 water. So their Sun, their Neptune, their Saturn, and their Jupiter. So out of the 10, they're going to have 7 in the feminine polarity, meaning there's only 3 left over in the masculine polarity. In this person's case, they have 3 fire. So here's Mercury, Mars, what am I missing? And the moon. And they have no air. This is an important point. So right now, in terms of the manas prakriti of this person, their feminine energy outweighs their masculine energy or their masculine polarity. Again, this is a gender, law of gender in terms of energy. It has nothing to do with sexuality. And so that the way that their mind is created, the way that their mind is set up, is to be in terms of more feminine polarity versus the masculine. What tends to happen in our life is when one is out of balance, especially in a case of this person, that there is absolutely no air in the chart. There's always air somewhere on cusps or in other places, but I'm talking about the 10 primary planets. What we will tend to do is overcompensate for the lacking element or the lacking polarity. So in this person's case, perhaps they study a lot, they have a lot of intellectual curiosity, they like to talk a lot, or we can go in the opposite direction where they can be a recluse, an introverted, they can be very intellectually stimulated, but perhaps not be very big in conversation. So we can do a 0 to 100 when we are missing an element or we have an element or a polarity that is lacking. And so it's very important to know that we have masculine and feminine energies. Even if you were to have no earth and water, you would still have an energetic component of your body, of your mind, of your spirit that is feminine in nature. But this is about the expression. This is about your soul's expression, your mind's expression, and how you express yourself in your life, in your world. This is also going to speak to whom you attract. If you have a lot of masculine energy and a lot of masculine polarity, a lot of fire and air, then in order to balance that, you'll attract people with more water and earth elements in their chart or more feminine in their expression to try to balance out. The only illness is imbalance. We are always trying to discover or find a balance. If we're in a room where the room has 10 people on the left and 5 people on the right, we're going to tend to migrate to the part where there's less people simply because we want to balance out the room. We are set up for what's called the law of gender to do this. So if you think of your actual energetic anatomy, your energetic anatomy has 3 major components. So think of your spinal column. There's an energetic cord there called the Sushumna. That's sort of the thread that brings you together, both your masculine and your feminine energies, and you have both depending on your elemental balance. Then if you look at the caduceus, which is what I'm basically describing, the 2 serpents that intersect, one is called the Ida and one is called the Pingala. The Pingala is the right or masculine polarity, and the Ida is the feminine polarity. The intersection of these 2 serpents or snakes create the chakras. The most important chakra, according to the law of gender, is the 6th chakra. This is where the 2 serpents meet and they create what's called the void. The chakra, that is the 3rd eye, which is a 1 eye, or a void, which is circle with 2 lotus petals. One lotus petal has a sun, which represents the Pingala or the masculine polarity. The left lotus petal is the Ida or has the moon, and represents the feminine polarity. So it is at our sixth chakra or our third eye that these energies connect. Depending on your manas prakriti, that's why it's right here in the sort of center of the mind, if you will, really the brain, the mind is everywhere. But what we would be to consider our thoughts, we can find our balance of our energies. So the closer you can become to the polarity on your chart that was from conception, pregnancy, and then birth, the healthier you will be in the balance of energies. Most people are kind of like that V8 commercial. We're lacking, in this person's case, air. They're going to lean more to the right, perhaps, to overcompensate for not having so much of a masculine polarity. Add to it societal norms. In this particular case, this is a gentleman living a traditional masculine role, and he's going to try to overcompensate for not having as much energy that is masculine polarity. So then we start to see that this is the crux of all health. So the symbol of the caduceus is the energetic health and the energetic framework, which then trickles down into the body and the expression of the soul and how we live our life, perhaps choose our relationships, whom we're attracted to. So this resurgence of, or this surge of the trans community is here to give us, using the law of correspondence, which is as within, so without. As without is seeing the large trans community grow. And it is for us to check in with the balance of our elements, the balance of our energies. How are we living and achieving and finding balance in our thoughts, in our mind, in our spirit, and in our body? So astrology is really helpful to see in our particular chart how it is that we need to assume back to our healthy manas prakriti, which was our state of balance energetically, masculine and feminine polarities at birth. Thank you.